Hello, everyone. How are you doing? We're running a little behind today. I apologize for that. I had to get my coffee, and we had a few other little snafus, so I hope that is all right. Let's just make sure my audio is working. Can everyone hear me? Hello. Excellent. All right. This is what it's all about. Running a little behind, getting a little bit crazy, but that's okay. It's going to be great. So, first of all, thank you everyone for being here. Welcome to the Communication Blueprint. I'm your host, Ashley Bright. We are streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you're not aware, this show is a companion to my bi-monthly newsletter, The Communication Blueprint, which, if you have not seen it or subscribed, is available currently on LinkedIn, as well as Patreon. And Patreon, it's free. The link is, I'm pointing, if you're on YouTube, it's right below here. And I believe it's also in LinkedIn profile as well. So anyway, if you don't have it, say it in the comments and I'll get that to you. But regardless, my goal with the Communication Blueprint is to provide you actionable strategies and insights to help you move from fear to confidence and from words to action. And I want it to be accessible for you when you're getting on stage, getting in a meeting, getting in front of a camera. I just want you to be a better communicator so that your ideas are heard by more people. You can have more impact, we can bring more change, and everything can be better. Not a bad goal, I think. So anyway, so thank you so much, everyone. If you have not yet, please subscribe, follow, comment, share, all those good things. That would be appreciated. That would be awesome. So thank you in advance. We are doing this outside. It's beautiful. I got to do this before it starts to get too hot. I know it's only April 3rd, but in Arizona and with the weather the way it is these days, it gets hot early and earlier. So craziness. All right, so let's get into it for today. So last show, we talked about the power of the pause and the importance of owning those moments of silence between your words, between your thoughts, because those things are powerful. And rather than undermining what you're doing by filling them with ums and ahs and likes and all these other things, you want to own the pause and just pause. Powerful, right? So if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. It's also on my LinkedIn, and the article that talks all about it is available as well. But today we are getting into the topic of my latest newsletter, which is crafting engaging introductions so you can hook your audience instantly and make your message impossible to ignore. So that's what we're doing today. All right. Anyways, out there, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will get to them because that's what this is all about. This originally came about as an evolved version of Ask Me Anything. And so, as that says, ask me anything. So if you have questions about this or any other topic around communication, please let me know. I want to help you. That is my number one goal for this whole thing and for what I do, which is to help you communicate more effectively. All right, so today we are talking about how to create engaging hooks and introductions so you can be immediately getting your audience interested. Now, why does this matter? Okay, that first 30 seconds, that is your moment to engage your audience. Okay, because if they are starting to zone out, you are going to lose them. Okay, and you need to be very clear with this. Okay, you don't want to be rambling, you don't want to be boring, you don't want to be confusing. You want to be all over it. Hold on, I'm just looking at something here. Got a comment. I don't know. There it is. So anyway, because the opening hook is powerful, because that sets the stage for everything that comes afterwards. It creates curiosity, it creates engagement, and it creates a sense of anticipation from your audience. And so don't overlook the value of this. This, as I said before, sets the stage for everything that will follow. However you have prepared all this great information you've got, all these wonderful slides, all these great points. If you don't open with something meaningful and powerful that connects and hooks people, all of those other things won't matter because people are already either zoning out or they've framed and positioned you in a place where they're like, I don't really need to pay attention, or I'm not going to understand this. I don't care, whatever those things are. And so please, 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 please don't overlook the importance of this introduction and how you do that. And so today, over the next 25 minutes or so, we are going to talk about 5 things, 5 areas. 1, why do introductions matter? I feel like I've already touched on that a little bit, but we'll talk about that. The psychology behind attention-grabbing hooks and why that's important. We'll talk about 7 powerful ways to start your presentation. We will talk about common mistakes that you should be avoiding at all costs. And then we'll share a very simple, and it is really simple, formula so that you can start to create your own hooks right away and be starting to capture your audience's attention. And ooh, it's windy here. My pages are blowing away. This is what happens when you are working outside, is these things happen. So let me get a little coffee here. If anyone's out there, please, if you have been looking at the previous ones, I'd love to know. I know we're talking about the hook and the opening today, but I'd love to know if there's something that's resonated from some of our previous conversations. And please share that. I'd love to hear more about it because that's what it's all about. All right, so why do introductions matter? Well, I've touched on this. It's really about that first impression. This is your moment to capture attention. This is your moment to make that first impression to create interest from your audience, from your listener. Okay? A strong introduction will do 3 really critical things to help you in the significance of your communication. 1, they will capture people's attention. Okay, people are easily distracted these days. We all, myself included, have the attention span of a goldfish. And so if we have a moment to look away, check our phones, have a conversation, we will. And so you need to capture attention right away. 2nd, it helps build credibility. Okay, right up front, you establish your authority and you make people trust you. So then everything you say afterwards has more meaning and significance. It also sets the tone for this conversation that you're about to share. Is this serious? Is this inspirational? Is this humorous? Okay, this entire introduction in that first 30 seconds sets the tone for everything that follows afterwards. So that is why your introduction matters. Actually, no, I'm going to put my little hoodie on here because my bald head is getting cold. I know it's beautiful and sunny, but it's actually a slight bit chilly, which I know in Arizona you have no sympathy, and I understand. So no worries there. All right, so let's talk briefly about the science behind attention-grabbing hooks, why that works, how you use them. So really simple, okay? Our brain is, I've talked about this in other instances. If some of you have seen some of my previous videos, I talk about how there's 2 systems in the brain. There's system 1 and there's system 2. System 1 is that croc brain. It's that very instinctual part of the brain. And it operates in a mode that it doesn't want to have to do a lot of work. Okay, it wants the easiest path forward. And if you can engage that system 1, then it lets system 2, which is that higher functioning part of the brain, engage so it can dig into the stats and the details and the information that you're sharing. So you got to get that system 1 engaged. Well, this is why the hook is so important, because the brain reacts to things that are surprising. Okay, if there's unexpected information in there, it's going to, system 1's going to take note of that and engage. Also, if you are using stories that have a level of emotion that's being shared, I have talked at great length about the power of story and how emotion is an incredibly powerful tool to engage that system 1 part of the brain and get people paying attention. The other thing is, with a great hook, if you're making it relatable, that engages the brain because people want to see themselves in the conversation that's being shared. They want to see how the information you're sharing can benefit them in what they are doing. And so if you are sharing a hook that's relatable, that is a great way to get into the brain and hook people immediately. The other thing is you can use is something mysterious, something that's thought-provoking, something that intrigues and pulls people in. This will connect, boom, right into that system 1 part of the brain. And so that is very briefly some of that science and how the brain processes information around why having a really powerful hook will surprise, that'll create engagement. If there's emotion, that creates engagement. If it's relatable, that creates engagement. And if there's a level of mysteriousness or curiosity. And keep in mind, you don't have to do all 4 of those. I'm just saying that that's the type of thing that the brain, you're getting all of communication. Let's just step back. All of communication. We've talked about storytelling, body language, vocal foundation, using the pause. All of those things tap into the human mind, the human body, the heart at a very visceral, emotional base level. And so using the hook in a similar way to tap into those very basic parts of the human brain and how we interact is powerful, powerful stuff, and will get people interested. They will begin paying attention, and it will minimize the amount of work you have to do later to get them to understand the value of what you're sharing. All right, let me have a little coffee here. If you have questions, please throw them in there. I would love to get into it with you. All right, so 7 powerful ways to start your presentation. 7, count them, 7. So there's lots of options here. So anyone who's saying, I don't know how to start, I'm not sure what to do, here are 7 great examples that you can start to integrate. So number 1, and if you've heard me speak before, you've heard this 1,000 times, which is stories. Opening with a story will help draw people in. It will help immediately tap into that crock, that system 1 part of the brain with something emotional that will get people pulled in. Because people love stories. They help connect us as human beings. They help us analyze. They help us. It's just a powerful, powerful tool. And so you want to use story. So I'm going to share an example. This was in the article I wrote about this, but here's an example of an opening. Are you ready for this? I just walked up on stage. You guys are clapping. Thank you so much. And I step out and I say, in 2012, I walked into a meeting thinking I was about to close the biggest deal of my career. 5 minutes later, I realized I had made a critical mistake. What happened next changed the way I approach business forever. So I want you to think about what I did there. That was all of about 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. But in that, I was able to create something that connected with you, drew you in. There was emotion, there was vulnerability there. I'm admitting that, hey, I went in thinking one thing and immediately realized that, well, something else was going on, and this is what I learned. And so that basic thing is a powerful way to connect with people, and that's a story, okay? It creates intrigue. It makes the audience curious about what's going to happen next. All right, so story, story, story. Come on, people. Stories. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Story is important, and story is a great way to connect and hook your audience from the beginning. All right, so technique number 2, ask a thought-provoking question. When we go to see someone speak, they have knowledge that we don't have. And so we are there to learn and gather that insight. And so if they ask a provocative, interesting, memorable question, it leaves things hanging. They pose that question and then it's, I want to hear the answer. And so I'm going to give you an example. Here's an example. Imagine this. All right, I get up on stage. Hey, everyone. What if I told you that everything you know about leadership is wrong? Mind blown, right? That simple opening, if you're out there and you've spent years in a leadership role, running your organization, leading teams, and I come out there and say, everything you know about leadership is wrong. And I just let it hang there. I'm using the power of the pause. Everything you know about leadership is wrong. Okay? I'm leaving that hanging there. And so you are going to be, wait a minute, you got to answer that. You got to clarify that. I want to know what's going on. And so you're creating this immediate sense of engagement. Okay? It challenges assumptions that your audience may have. If I'm speaking to a group of leaders and I've just said everything you know about what you do is wrong, I better be able to back that up, because I've thrown some words out there that are going to spark curiosity, maybe a little frustration and anger. And so I better be able to back that up with insights that answer that question and prove that point. Okay? So asking a provocative question is a fabulous way to capture people's attention right away. All right, number 3, use a shocking statistic. Something that's unexpected, something that really draws people in, because this is important. It reveals something that's surprising that they didn't know. There's an aspect, if you think about that reaction people had to idea, or the second suggestion there about asking a provoking question, a thought-provoking question, excuse me, by using a thought-provoking or shocking statistic, you do the same thing. It creates this surprise and this unexpected response from people. And so, for example, I'm going to throw this out there. Did you know that 75% of professionals say they fear public speaking more than death? Now, truth be told, we've heard some variation of that before. But when I throw the statistical number in there, the percentage, the specificity of that, it means that there's probably some sort of research material or something that exists to back that up. And so when I say, hey, people fear public speaking more than death, people, that resonates, and probably a lot of people go, yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't want to get up there and speak. But when I throw that stat in there, did you know that 75% of people are afraid of public speaking? In fact, they're more afraid of it than death. That elicits a curiosity that you want to know, well, where is this? And if I'm good, I should have actually sources for that, so that if I get asked about it, if I want to expand on it, I can do so. So, all right, this works and is powerful. It catches people, it gets them off guard. They want to learn more. All right, so number 4, make a bold statement. Okay, make a bold statement. So what does that mean? Well, let me throw one out there. Ready? Imagine I'm walking into a room, I'm walking into a meeting, I'm getting up on stage, and I've got a whole audience of marketing professionals that are there to learn, or they're business owners, or they're business leaders, and they're there to learn. And I walk out there and I say, your marketing strategy is doomed to fail unless you change one thing. What? That is a bold statement. That is going to get people interested. It provokes curiosity. It kind of sets up something of an argument, because I have just come right out and said, your marketing strategy, the future of your business, everything you're doing is doomed unless you change this one thing. Wow. Powerful stuff. Okay, so I hope as you're listening to this, I hope you're starting to think about ways that you could start to implement this in your communication, in your meetings, in your conversations. All right, so that was number 4 on our list of 7 powerful ways to create a hook, to create engagement immediately. Okay, number 5, use a quotation. Okay, use a quote. Okay, there are many people who have said what you want to say in a much better, more elegant, powerful way, and they probably have authority and credibility in that space. So why not leverage that in order to help up-level what you're doing and create that hook? All right, so a powerful quote. Here's an example. The best way to predict the future is to create it, said by Peter Drucker. And today I'm going to show you how. All right. So imagine that. A lot of people in business are going to know Peter Drucker. They're going to know his authority, his level of understanding. And I'm going to use that quote to up-level my authority and my understanding. Okay. It aligns the topic that I'm going to talk about with wisdom from a respected source. Okay, that is why when we have those quotes out there, we see that all the time now in social media, in marketing materials, a great quote that everybody knows and they recognize the quote and the individual, then I've already given what I'm going to talk about. I've aligned it with that and made it powerful and meaningful. All right, so that was number 5. Use a quotation. All right, number 6 on our countdown of powerful ways to hook people, create a hypothetical scenario. All right, so how does this work? Well, you want the audience to start to imagine, whoop, my pages are blown away here. You want the audience to imagine something. Just going to put something there to hold it down. You want the audience to imagine something that makes them feel more engaged. Okay, because just like story is creating imagery in our mind's eye, it's creating this engagement. Having a hypothetical scenario makes the audience visualize something that they want and helps them pay attention. So here's an example. Okay, I get up there in front of the meeting, I get up in front of the room, I get up in front of the audience, and I say, imagine you just launched a new product, and within 24 hours, it goes viral. How would that change your business? If I'm sitting there and I'm a struggling entrepreneur who just launched a business and put all of my savings, all of my money into this, I've racked up credit card debt, and I'm worried about the future, and someone gets up there that I want to learn from and makes that statement, okay, puts that out there in the world. Imagine if what you did, what you put out there went viral and overnight became a sensation, and you were getting tons of orders, new clients, your revenue is growing leaps and bounds over the next 24 to 48 hours. That's important, that's significant, okay? So I've created a hypothetical scenario that someone in my audience is going to imagine for themselves. It's like visualizing. Sure, we've heard about the power of visualizing. You can't achieve something if you can't visualize it or imagine it. And so if I'm immediately creating something that's allowing people to visualize success, visualize change for them, all of a sudden I become relevant, I become important, I become someone that they want to listen to. All right? Okay, last but not least, number 7 on our countdown. And this one can be a little dicey, but I'm going to throw it out there because people who know how to use it well, it's powerful, it's powerful. Can you inject a little bit of humor into your opening? Okay, it's a great way to warm up the room, get people to connect, let down their guard. It lets them know that, hey, we're all having fun here, we're all having a good time. And so this is actually, I referenced this a little bit earlier in one of my previous examples, but I get up there and I say, they say public speaking is people's number 1 fear. Do you know what number 2 is? Death. Which means that most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Okay? Now, that is not something no one's heard before. It's a very common phrase, cliche, stereotype about public speaking. But I use it just as an example that if you know, I mean, and you should, you're out there speaking to a group of people and you're knowledgeable about them, you have empathy, you've done research, you know the space and your topic, it's probably pretty easy for you to come up with some insights that will bring about humor, that will let down people's guard, because that's what it's all about, is creating that relationship, creating that moment of authentic connection with your audience. And so using humor, using that insight is a powerful way to get them to relax and get them to recognize you and feel that you are likable. You're one of them. See, if I share something humorous that's based on an insight about an industry or a challenge that my audience is facing, not only does it help engage and let down the guard, but it also shows them that I know what I am talking about. I know your struggle. I know your pain. I know the frustration that you've felt. And here is an example of that, and it's done in a humorous way. So that will immediately pull people in and make it interesting for them. All right. So there are the 7, I'm making sure I got the right number of fingers up, 7 things that you can do to start to create hooks that create engagement. So number 1, just a quick recap. Number 1, start with a story. Number 2, ask a thought-provoking question. Number 3, use a shocking or unexpected stat. Make a bold statement. Use a quotation. Create a hypothetical scenario. Or number 7, inject a little bit of humor. All right, now let's get on to some things that you really, really, really need to avoid at all costs. All right, now, and these are important because I'm sure you have seen this all the time. I've seen this many times. So what are the things that you want to be avoiding? There are 4 key things that you want to be avoiding. Number 1, and I see this all the time, I know it comes from a place of honesty and vulnerability, but don't start off by apologizing. Okay, when you get out there and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm nervous, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late, oh, I'm sorry this happened. Okay, it weakens your credibility immediately. Now, if you, for example, in that scenario I just said, if you are late and you have delayed the meeting, maybe there is a reason to acknowledge that. And so it's dependent, obviously, on the scenario and what's going on. But generally, don't get up there and apologize. Don't tell people you're nervous. Don't tell people you don't, because it really, really undermines your credibility and your authority. And you don't want that. Number 2, don't ramble. Okay, don't spend time wandering around the conversation, telling them what you had for lunch and what's going on. Get to the point. Long-winded introductions are the worst because you just want someone to get to the point. Okay, think about our media landscape right now. It's all about bite-size, TikTok, very short attention spans. And so if you get up there and start meandering all over the place, you're going to lose people. Okay, so get to the point, don't ramble. The other thing is be very careful, and this comes down to empathy and understanding, knowing your audience, but avoid overloading your audience with any kind of jargon. I used to see this all the time when I worked with Microsoft years ago. They would ramble on with all this insight jargon and acronyms, and it was unintelligible. And I would have to remind them to unpack that and frame it in a way that is accessible and understandable to a non-tech audience that wasn't steeped in what they were steeped in. And then last but not least, and this is very, very common, and I know it's well-intentioned, is don't start with housekeeping. I'm sure we've been there at a presentation or a talk, and they start off with, hey, before we get into it, a few points of housekeeping. And they actually say housekeeping. Here's the agenda. Here's what we're going to do. If you've got a phone, do this, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Don't start with that. Start with something impactful and meaningful, capture people's attention, and then say, hey, just a couple quick things we should be aware of. We're going to take this, we're going to do that, blah, 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 okay? So the things to avoid: apologizing, please don't do it, please don't do it. Rambling all over the place, not getting to your point, that's no good. Overloading your audience with jargon or having trouble with this word. Let me start again. Here we go, we're starting again. Things to avoid. Number 1, apologizing. Number 2, rambling and not getting to your point. Number 3, overloading your audience with jargon. And number 4, housekeeping. Do not start with housekeeping. It is no good. All right, so I promised you a simple formula for crafting your perfect introduction. So let's get into that right now. Thank you for being here for this. Thank you for seeing it through to this point, because this is really powerful and it's so simple. So simple. All right. So here is the formula that you can start to use to create an interesting hook. Obviously, we talked about those other 7 things you could do, but here is a really simple formula. And formulas are great. And so I want you to really think about this. If you got a pen, write this down, because it's simple, it's powerful. All right. So it's really got four parts to it. Number 1, hook. Grab attention with a story, a question, a stat, or a bold statement. Number 2, create or give context. Briefly introduce the topic and why it matters to your audience. Number 3, credibility. Establish why your audience should listen to you. And number 4, a roadmap for what your audience is going to hear, is going to gain, what's coming up next. Give them a preview. And you can do all of that very, very briefly. And I'm going to give you an example. Okay, I'm going to read through this and then we'll break it down. All right, ready? What if I told you that 85% of business presentations fail? Oops. See, this is a problem when I'm trying to look at the screen and I'm trying to read. So let me start that again. That was a terrible opening. Don't do that. All right, so let me give you the example again. I didn't read all the way through. Okay, what if I told you that 85% of business presentations fail to keep the audience engaged? Today, I'm going to talk about how to change that. As a public speaking coach, I've helped over 500 professionals master their presentations. In the next 20 minutes, I'll share 3 strategies you can use to make your next talk unforgettable. Okay, that was 25 seconds, give or take. And what I covered there was a hook, context, credibility, and a roadmap. So let me break that down real quick. So the hook, remember the different hooks we've talked about, how you can use these different 7? Well, here's the hook. What if I told you that 85% of business presentations fail to keep the audience engaged? Okay, so that was both a provocative statement. It also had a stat in it. So I've actually merged together 2 of the strategies that we talked about in those 7 from before. It created that interest and engagement. So that's the hook. And then I follow up with providing context, where I say, today we're going to talk about how to change that. All right, so I'm paying off that opening line by saying, hey, we're going to solve it. And I'm giving you some context for why this talk is going to be important. Now I'm following up with my credibility by saying, as a public speaking coach, I have helped over 500 professionals master their presentations. Right? So I'm giving you a sense for who I am and why you should be listening to me and why it matters. And then last but not least, I'm giving you a roadmap for what the next 20 minutes is going to look like. So I say, in the next 20 minutes, I'll share 3 strategies you can use to make your next talk unforgettable. Okay? So very, very simple, really powerful formula. All right? Really powerful formulas. Sorry, my dog was chewing on a stick or something right there, and it was making me a little cuckoo. Okay, this is Betty. You can't see her, but she's chewing sticks. All right. Hi, Betty. Hi, Betty. All right. Thank you for your patience. I'm all over the place here. All right. So that is a really simple formula you can use. 4 points: hook, context, credibility, and roadmap. All right. Write those down. Try them out for yourself. If you're looking for the examples I'm referring to here, get the newsletter on LinkedIn or Patreon, and it clarifies all those things. All right. So in summation, in closing, the introduction is the most important part of your presentation. I'm going to repeat that. The introduction is the most important part of your presentation. Okay, I hope you understand that. I hope that's clear. Okay, by using a powerful hook, it will set the right tone, it will avoid the common mistakes that happen, and it will allow you to have more impact with the communication you want, and it will leave a powerful, lasting impression on your audience. So there you go, my friends. That is crafting engaging introductions and how you can hook your audience instantly and make your message impossible to ignore. So I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank you for tuning in. If anyone out there missed this, it's available on LinkedIn or YouTube. And people, friends, family, everybody out there watching, if you liked what you saw today, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up or leave a comment. I'd love to know what resonated with you, what was valuable, and most importantly, what you will begin implementing right now, today, to start improving your communication and your impact. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe. That would be wonderful. I appreciate it, and I appreciate each of you. So what is up next? Well, in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about a very powerful, very relevant, very current topic. Okay? In an era where AI can generate blog posts, marketing copy, and even entire books within seconds, as well as scripts and outlines and 100 other things, your ability to tell a compelling, emotionally charged story is what will set you and your brand apart. So tune in next time to learn how mastering storytelling is the human advantage in an AI-driven world. Powerful, important topic. And so I want to see you here in 2 weeks. And so until then, I want you to remember, when you have the opportunity to get up on stage, to lead a meeting, to get on video, to get on a podcast, don't just speak, inspire. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the week. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, cheers.
"20 seconds till you're on."
You're going to screw this up. If you don't know what the hell you're talking about, why do you even bother? You are going to absolutely look like an idiot. You got this.